Hi, my name's Erin Vroom. Some of you might not know me, but I have been working at YWAM Salem for the last 10 years. I have led the communications department before, was part of our initial setup of Salesforce several years ago. Right now I'm co-training director and I lead a Bible core course at our campus, but more relevant, I was the lead change manager of our transition from Salesforce to HubSpot. So I learned the new system, set up the new system. A lot of this was done in correspondence with the Mobilize Your Missions people, and I hear a lot of chatter about a lot of people wanting to move from Salesforce to HubSpot and just questions surrounding that. So I thought I would just, I presented something like I'm going to talk you through to our board, and I thought, hey, this would actually be great. Just share the research with you guys. And I'm a huge proponent of HubSpot for a lot of reasons, and I just want to, give you guys a little bit more insight into that. So hopefully this is helpful for you Mobilize Your Missions people. All right, a little bit more of my background that's helpful. So I have my master's in education with a focus in learning design and technology. So that has also helped me. I'm trained to basically go into organizations and improve systems and lead trainings and things like that. So that definitely helped me and kind of propelled this process, and I'll kind of bring some of that into this presentation. All right, so to start, vision. This should not look much different than your guys's, hopefully, because we want to be on the same page. But we call our, I think it's called different things, but we call our mobilization department the Student Communications Department, and we are half creative team, half what we call mobilizers, student mobilizers, and the admissions team. And we exist to mobilize young people into missions via DTS and to steward every student's journey to YWAM Salem. So you can see there's a tenfold, and this is some of what we redid as well of clarifying our. Essentially what you're looking at in these numbers is lead statuses. But for us, it's more than just a lead status. It's really telling the story of how we get students through our system. And so a huge reason why we were even embarking on switching from Salesforce to HubSpot is looking at, the key question that we want to ask literally every day is how can we steward the student's journey to YWAM Salem? So that is definitely a huge driver. Also wanted to let you guys know, so our organizational goal, so at YWAM Salem, we really feel like God is calling us to grow, and we have defined that by increasing our number of DTS students by 50 per year. So that drives a lot of our metrics and benchmarks, and so I just thought that would be helpful for you guys to know. And then just to be super transparent with our numbers, you can see here in 2015, we had our lowest amount of student numbers. In 2016, in Q4, we implemented, or Daniel Norris came and did the initial training, and we got started on our Salesforce platform, building that. Ryan Dutra was a really key player in pioneering that process, and I provided a lot of oversight. So you see that we had growth there, and in 2017, we really saw that initial growth using our inbound marketing strategy using Salesforce. But you can see in 2018, we plateaued, and in 2019 our numbers have not been impressive. I think that we'll maybe hit 80, we'll kind of keep on that plateau, but I don't see us growing that much. And so this was kind of just a huge red flag for us as a leadership team to talk about, hey, we've invested all this money in Salesforce, we are investing all this money in ads, why isn't it working? And so that's when I came in, and just as oversight of the department, the student communications leaders directly reported to me as training director, and like I said, just with my educational background, I did what we call performance system and strategy analysis. So this works through some pretty cool frameworks and formulas just from the body of knowledge called human performance technology. And so part of my training is to be like a physician for organizations. Every organization feels pain, and it's the physician's job to kind of get to the source of the pain and suggest remedies. So for us, a really key pain point is we've been doing all this work, investing all this money, and our numbers are not increasing. Obviously, it's not about the numbers, it's about the word of the Lord on our ministry. And that's painful to not meet those things, even though we feel like that's what God has called us to. And so I looked at a lot of different things. and what I found was actually we're doing pretty good generating calls, generating leads, making amount of calls, even receiving applications. Of course, we can improve that. But all in all, we on a lot of our numbers, we were doing well. But then looking at some other things, I did a tech stack audit, and Salesforce, it presents itself as originally free. And when we were getting started, we looked at HubSpot and Salesforce, and some people made the decision to go with Salesforce because it's free. But we found ourselves several years later seeing that actually it isn't free. It takes a ton of accounts and subscriptions to actually make it work. So all in all, we had 18 different accounts and subscriptions that made our system work in Salesforce. So you can see that image there with all the colors. That is just kind of all the different parts of our system that made everything work together. So as you can already tell, this was very quickly becoming unmanageable. It took a lot of integrations. We're using Zapier, but integrations would break down, and it really would take a techie person to put that together. And we just didn't have that person. The other thing I wanted to talk about in my analysis was, for me, looking at, okay, what is an inbound marketing strategy? We say that we're using this, but are we actually doing it? So this is basic inbound marketing strategy, right? The goal is to move strangers to visitors, to leads, to students, and then ultimately to promoters of our program. And part of that process is, attracting, converting, closing, and then delighting them in our product, which is, of course, our schools and missions. And then you can see that there's different tools along the way that essentially help move people through that process. So to go to be a stranger to a visitor, we're really going to target you with ads and blogs, Google ads, social publishing, all that stuff. What I found was, I went through and I said, okay, what are we actually doing? Like, are we utilizing all of these things? So you can see here in red, these are the things that we were not utilizing. So if you look at this, if you say, okay, this is the definition of an inbound marketing strategy, we say we're doing inbound marketing strategy. Are we really doing it? And how are we doing it? And you can see I found a lot of holes. We weren't utilizing all of the tools that were available to us. So all in all, some just kind of summaries of our performance issues that were uncovered and that I articulated through these processes. So the first one is we had some major leadership transition, and very quickly. So I think whenever you have a leadership transition, that provides some just complications. Another thing is that we had key skills missing from the team. So for instance, networking, Salesforce, project management, and then even just this heart of innovation, of understanding how to have vision and how to implement that, how to test things, how to learn from things, and how to keep going. We found that we had in the department a static instead of a fluid mentality. So we really we were focusing on management, not innovation. So when it came it wasn't about stewarding the journey. It was more about stewarding this process that someone who came before set up. So we were basically trying to kind of fix a broken system, instead of ask, okay, how could we steward the journey better? How could we do new things? The other thing, we were overlooking principles of employee motivation. It's hard to motivate callers. It's hard to sit there all day and make calls. But I think a huge part of what we saw is that our callers weren't motivated because they weren't given ownership of the process. But how could they have ownership of the process if we had a super complicated system that takes, a Salesforce engineer to manage, or someone with crazy good inbound marketing skills and a technical mind to figure it out? So I think we have wonderful staff, but they were not giving ownership. A principle of motivation is giving staff ownership, and we lack that. And so they lacked motivation. Lack of knowledge and execution on our inbound marketing strategy. I already talked about that. There are a lot of tools we weren't utilizing. Lack of ongoing call training. This is mistake number one in the workplace, is that we think an onboarding training is enough. You have to provide people with ongoing training, ongoing support, things like job aids, things like incentives, things like feedback on their role, things like that. We had a deteriorating and overcomplex Salesforce system. And and part of this is seeing other campuses also struggling with that same thing. We had leaders fatigued from patching a broken system that was out of their area of expertise. So our current leaders were in charge of tracking down certain integrations that were failing, but they did not know how to fix it. So they were basically, our leaders are operating outside of their gifting, and they're just fatigued and not able to lead the team. We had system and some workflow decisions that did not facilitate the one-to-one relationship. Of the mobilizer to the mobilized. And then we had an unfocused content strategy, and then there was an overemphasis on generating leads, not necessarily stewarding the relationship. So this was pretty interesting, and kind of part of our value, maybe a value that was a little bit off from our get-go, is that we wanted to put all the money that we got for the department, we put most of that into generating leads. So we had money in the beginning to pay for HubSpot, most likely, but it was a large fee, and so we said, well, we can go to Salesforce for free, and then we can put all of our money in advertising. But it revealed kind of this underlying value that we really needed to fix, is that we need to value more so stewarding the relationship and investing there, instead of just generating a high amount of leads. So those are all the performance issues uncovered. Basically, my conclusion is we have the financial and the human resources we need. The problem is that our systems were no longer serving our strategy, our audience, or our people. And so an analogy that I like to give is between Salesforce and HubSpot is like Salesforce can like literally do anything you want it to do. It's a machine monster, awesome program, but it's really built for companies that are 5,000 to 100,000 people that are doing super complex things. I think that's when Salesforce really makes sense and really pays off. So you can see here's this like wood shop with all of these tools. You could literally build anything that you want. On the other side, here people, building a piece of IKEA furniture. I love IKEA furniture. And so HubSpot is built to build exactly what you want to build. And so what I found was, I'm not saying Salesforce isn't valuable. If you have a person consistently long-term committed to your ministry that's really good at Salesforce, sure, go for it. But what I found with in any organization, you have to work with your constraints. And one of our constraints is just always going to be finding that niche person who can really manage a system. This isn't like lack of faith. This is just, hey, we're in YWAM. We want to be releasing missionaries. So we're probably not going to get a ton of Salesforce engineers. So according, in HubSpot, they're built for companies that are way smaller, 100 to 1,000 people. And their support is just amazing. And I think it's just basically what I saw is just a better fit for our organization. Here's kind of just a day in the life of, the Salesforce system. Basically, we were at a point where our system was broken. All the integrations were messed up. I reached out to a local Salesforce developer who is in relationship with us, and he actually quoted us $75 an hour. And he quoted me basically $10,000 to rebuild the system. But then after that, I'm smart enough to know that we would for sure need him on retainer for $75 an hour. I would imagine minimum 5 hours a month. So you're looking at around, several $100s a month to even maintain this, plus the $10,000, which really was very comparable to what HubSpot actually was. But yeah, our system was broken. We needed to fix it. I looked into getting it fixed, rebuilding a new Salesforce solution, but that just simply wasn't going to, I don't think it was going to work out. Another image here that I think is helpful. So Salesforce it has all of these different platforms. So, for email, you're using MailChimp. For blog, you're using WordPress. For social, you're using CoSchedule. You're using a handful of things. For reports, you're pulling info from Google Analytics, from other places, all that stuff. Forms are on a different place. So HubSpot, you can see here, everything is all under one roof. So this is super important, and it makes reporting a lot easier, I have found. It makes just gathering the data that you need super easy and fast. And we have basically gone from, those 18 logins that I mentioned to make our Salesforce system work, down to basically a handful. Definitely under 5, basically 3 that we're consistently logging into, or I would say 4. The 3 would be, HubSpot itself. We're still logging into FormStack. We still use FormStack for our applications, and we use Google Sites for our training. And we use Airtable for a lot of content management and task management, team-wide and things like that. 18 logins to 4, and then it's all most everything that you need for reporting is under one roof, and that just makes it so awesome. So based on my performance analysis that revealed kind of the performance issues, here are basically my performance enhancements or interventions that we're tackling. So basically we decided HubSpot would be an all-in-one system that houses all of our stuff, and that would be a way better solution for us than Salesforce, and I agreed to building it. We're rebuilding our website, which is going to increase the speed, and we're just going to go through and just relook at our language of how we explain YWAM. Also, the website is going to be in HubSpot, which then for sure everything is under one roof. HubSpot is easy to use. It's also way easier to train on, which empowers the entire team to own and develop the entire process, which increases motivation. And I have literally seen this unfold before my eyes. I have mobilizers who are awesome people, but they were very not motivated. And now they're building workflows on HubSpot themselves. And very little training went into it. And so it's super awesome to see the whole team. Basically, I've given them the blank, it's set up, but essentially I did give them a blank slate for them to really wrap their mind around and be writing templates on their own and be doing a lot of this on their own. The other thing I did, just in general, reducing the complexity of our system. So going down to 18 logins, getting rid to, a handful. Fully developing and teaching on our inbound marketing strategy. So a lot of what we're doing is teaching everyone on the team, hey, here's what inbound marketing strategy is. How can we do all of these things? How can we check all of these boxes? We have a more focused content strategy. This is all tied into the inbound marketing training, delivering the right content to the right audience at the right time. We're inserting a lot more skills in project management, task management, and team collaboration systems being built on Airtable. Airtable is an amazing system, so this is really enabling great communication and follow-up with our team. Our printed manual is being turned into a dynamic Google site, which is going to provide ongoing call training. This is amazing because we can just continually be updating it. And if you know how to use Google Docs, you basically can use a Google site. So already some of our processes are changing within HubSpot because, we're learning, we're changing things. And so boom, right there, we're able to change our processes and keep it dynamic. We're developing new benchmarks to hold the team and the leaders accountable, and doing a lot of visualization of those in the office. And then we're using the better reporting tools, generating reports, and then acting on results. And then we are looking at these cultural things of how can we insert a culture of innovation, which the cycle of innovation, so it's a cycle, here are the 4 parts. You have the theory or a piece of knowledge, you take action on that, you then have an outcome, and then you learn. So this is something that we want to visualize in the office, that we want to talk about very often when we look at the student journey. What are we learning? What actions are we taking? How can we make this whole process better and really steward everything? So overall results, so the HubSpot system, I believe, will make our goal of increasing 50 students per year possible. whereas before we were really struggling. The CRM/sales platform was implemented early April, so I paid the bill, started literally on the 1st of February. I watched a bunch of HubSpot Academy videos and started building our system, crafted the Google site, and then set the team loose early April. And it was a pretty good transition, especially because I had already written down all the new processes on the Google site. Highly recommend Google Sites. The Marketing Hub is currently being optimized. So we have all of our, we have marketing drip campaigns and all that stuff and workflows. We've set up a lot of things, but we want to really remaster our ads, just everything in light of the new HubSpot system. And then a new website will be launched by fall, built on the HubSpot platform. And the something just to, because I've experienced, the HubSpot onboarding process and the HubSpot Academy videos, they enabled me to set up a solid system in just several months. I am quite a techie person, but I really didn't know a lot about HubSpot, and they really guide you through it and support you. So when you purchase HubSpot, you have to pay an onboarding fee, and I think it's several $1,000s. It's like $3,000, and it is worth way more than that. For the first 90 days, they meet with you for an hour every week, and you're able just to process with them things. They get your goals and they just work with you. And then beyond that, so after the 90 days, you're hooked up with a customer success manager. And so they check in with you every like 6 to 8 weeks for I think the first year to make sure that you're basically meeting your goals and utilizing everything that HubSpot has to offer. So for me, I'm not called to long-term manage the student communications team. I was primarily, a performance technologist and change manager of setting the system up and training the team. But for the most part, I actually have been able to unplug, and I have this peace of mind that the HubSpot representative is going to meet with the team, and they're going to hold them accountable and be asking them the right questions that are in alignment with our goals. It's literally incredible. And then for ongoing training, the HubSpot Academy, they're already in the months that I've been on HubSpot, they're releasing these updates that are, I'll be in HubSpot, I'll be like, oh, I wish it could do this. And then next month they're like releasing an update for it. So really, really awesome. I cannot recommend it enough. So that's kind of my spiel. The next video, I do want to just show you guys, I know this is what you really want to see, but just walking you very briefly through our system and what it's all about. So that's the next video I'll create.